So very good evening to everyone. How many of you have given Abhyas? So were you able to, identify with the questions given? Yes, kind of. So how did you feel after giving Abhyas? Okay, manageable. So UPSC will also be like that. It will be manageable. If you're doing your current affairs, if you're doing newspapers properly, you are going into depth in, subjects specifically like economics, polity, even to an extent, culture. If at all questions are coming from the newspaper, then it will be helpful. Okay. How many of you attempted more than 80 questions? Have you started looking for the answers? Yes? हाँ but you तो कितने बन रहे हैं? How much are you getting nearby? Fine. So let's start with the discussion. Charaideo Moidums, a home burial mounds. This topic we have already covered in Lachit Barphukan when we were doing a home dynasty. We also did Paik system. We also did Momaria rebellion, right? Then Treaty of Yandabu. So all this will remain part of it. There we have already discussed what are Charaideo. So they are burial sites, right? So nothing more than this. We've already covered in our previous classes. Okay. Just remember that UPSC can play with this fact that they have already been inscribed in UNESCO, World Heritage List, which is not the case. It's just that India has sent the nomination, right? So what you can do, as I have already told you, that you have to prepare burial systems of different civilizations, right? Specifically, you can start with your lithic stage, Stone Age, and in Harappan civilization, right? Even if, what if question comes on burial mounds. Then comes Sammej Shikhar and Shatranjay Hill. Yes, this is very important. So what was the controversy all about? There are two places. Both are Jain pilgrimage sites. One is Sammej Shikharji, which is on Parsnath Hill in Jharkhand. And the other one is Shatranjay Hill, which is in Gujarat, right? So what you have to understand is that both are Jain pilgrimage sites. When we will be having that extra class for Buddhism and Jainism, I'll include the Jain pilgrimage sites also. But if you're doing Jainism, I'll just give you a framework. First of all, you should know the core philosophy of Jainism. Tirthankars. How many Tirthankars are there? 23 or 24? 24. Then you also have to do Jain pilgrimage sites. This is very important this time. There has already been a question asked on Jain sects. There was a question asked by UPSC on Sthanakvasis. So Sthanakvasi are one of the sects of Jain, right? You have to specifically prepare Jain texts. You have to prepare in Jainism Jain So when you're doing pilgrimage centers, there you can do Jain temples, any caves specifically dedicated to Jainism. So this is what precisely you will be preparing under Jainism, right? I'm again repeating this time, this is important because of the two pilgrimage sites in news. Shall I rub this? Then within this topic, you need to know that Samet Shikharji is in Parasnath Hill, the physiographic division. Secondly, it's dedicated to which Jain Tirthankar. So in Gujarat, specifically, when you're talking about Shatranjay Hill, it's dedicated to the first Tirthankar, Lord Adinath, right? Secondly, what was the issue all about? In both the sites of Jain pilgrimage sites here, what was the issue in Parsnath Hill? Eco-sensitive zone. Now, what was the row over Santhal tribes in Samet Shikharji? So what exactly the controversy all about was that Santhals who also pay allegiance to Samet Shikharji, so they are tribals, right? So if Samet Shikharji is declared as eco-sensitive zone, there the rituals or the tribal practices like, you know, which involves, you know, cutting of animals, etc., those activities cannot take place, right? Because then it would create controversy. So these are certain things or issues which made declaration of Samet Shikharji as an eco-sensitive zone, and then the controversy began on Santhal tribes also declaring that place as their religious or ritual place. Secondly, there is also an information given that already over Parsnath Hill, when during British time this controversy also emerged, the Britishers ruled in favor of the Santhal tribe, right? That means that till date, before this center's decision, there was no ban on meat and liquor and certain rituals of the tribals over there, right? So this is also important. So as I told you that when we will be having that extra class on Buddhism and Jainism, I will be categorically giving you all the information on Jain temples or pilgrimage site. So we'll do then. Otherwise, this information is more than sufficient. Now comes your Purana Killa. Now why Purana Killa is in news? Because recently the Archaeological Survey of India has reopened the excavations at Purana Killa. Now why these excavations are recently being done again to date, when was this constructed or who founded it exactly? There is an established or major consensus between the historians that Purana Killa was built by Mughal Emperor Humayun, but still exactly what was the time period and did he only build it is not clear. That's why these excavations again have started, right? So what we already know is an established fact maintained by most of the historians that Purana Killa was built by Mughal Emperor Humayun, right? Now he built Purana Killa as part of his new city of Deenpana. Deenpana is a city within Delhi which was constructed by Humayun, right? Next thing is, related to Humayun, Sher Shah Suri was one of his contemporary, and the two battles fought between Humayun and Sher Shah are very important. So when you're doing Purana Killa, you need to revise your history with respect to Mughals and Suri dynasty. So these two battles were Battle of Chausa and Battle of Kannauj. So in the Battle of Chausa, which was fought between Humayun and Sher Shah won, and he was again a very abled ruler at that point of time, or a military commander. So when he started his journey of invading or coming to India, he served as a private soldier of Mughals, right? So he took control of Mughal Empire precisely after the Battle of Chausa, but before that he was working as a private soldier in the Mughal army, right? And the ruler under whom he was serving was Babur, right? Then happened Battle of Kannauj again with Humayun and Sher Shah at loggerheads. Again Sher Shah won, right? So in both the battles, Sher Shah Suri won. Now Sher Shah Suri himself is also credited with many reforms. You must have heard about Grand Trunk Road. So he extended Grand Trunk Road from Chittagong in the frontiers of the province of Bengal. Then he also organized postal system in the Indian subcontinent. He also issued the first rupiah in silver currency from Taka. So this is again one of his major contributions during the medieval times, right? Now it's not as if Purana Killa was only built by Humayun and then there were no further modifications. Sher Shah Suri also developed Deenpana city as well as he did certain modifications at Purana Killa, right? So that's how you are going to link Humayun, Purana Killa and Sher Shah Suri, right? So these are other monuments in Purana Killa complex. As I told you that Sher Shah also has certain contribution in Purana Killa. So there is one of the mosques, Qila'e-Kuna Mosque. It was built by Sher Shah Suri. Sher Mandal again built by Sher Shah Suri. And there are other structures like Baoli, Lal Darwaza, etc. Right? So again, the statement can be given to you just to confuse you unnecessarily that Purana Killa was, modified by, or there are certain complexes or monuments within Purana Killa which were built by Sher Shah Suri. So you have to mark that as correct, right? Just remember that Sher Shah Suri and Humayun were contemporary to each other, right? हाँ ठीक है Hemu and Akbar, yes. Sorry, I got confused. Then comes your other important news. We have done in extent Harappan sites and Harappan civilization. So excavation at Harappan site in Gujarat is one of the new excavations done. So again, I would just repeat that we've already done this topic. You have to do certain portions according to the framework given, like Harappan sites or major features of Harappan civilization, right? If you want to ask any question in Harappan civilization if you have revised, you can ask me. Is there anything which you need more explanation or elaboration? I'll do that. कौन से questions? They never asked this. They never asked this, that this article has been found in this excavation. The question which you're talking about is, I'll just tell you. So I'll tell you the type of questions which are asked. So what you are probably asking is, जैसे for example, Lothal. This is what you're asking, that the major find was Dockyard. These are the type of questions which you're asking. Now, Lothal, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa. So, Great Bath, Dockyard, bead factory. These are very important findings of these major cities. Any new excavation finding or any small excavation which is also common to other cities of Harappa, you may not, pay too much of importance to those things. But there are major, Harappa cities like Rakhigari, Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Chanudaro, right? They are very important. So these things you will not skip. Otherwise, there are so many sites, you can't remember the findings of each and every site, right? Similarly, if you are to give priority to sites and their findings, this is what you can do. Specifically Dholavira. Okay, this I did not include. Or else you can see the previous year paper questions, whatever Harappan sites have been mentioned in the options. Those also you can prepare. But you can't prepare each and every site and the finding, right? Yes. See, whenever NCERT is giving you different information, you have to remember both. I'm telling you, because you can't really come to a conclusion about it, because these excavations are ongoing. Similarly, there was a horse question asked by UPSC, right? So if you read NCERT, if you read Upinder Singh, if you read other books of ancient India, there it is mentioned that yes, there were horse remains found, right? They did not completely abstain from this notion that there was no horse. Whereas UPSC, they mentioned the statement as there was presence of no horse in Indus Valley civilization, which should have been wrong, but UPSC gave the answer that yes, there was no mention of horse in Indus Valley civilization. So either the answer given by UPSC you have to accept as it is, or otherwise if there are two conflicting facts given in NCERT, you have to see what question has been asked. So if there are two options given of, let's say copper or stone, something like that, then you have to make your own judgment. UPSC will not give you this thing. Otherwise, there is another wrong information given in your NCERT with respect to temple architecture. So there are 3 Pradakshina path, types of Pradakshina path. What are Pradakshina path in temple architecture? So are there any types of Pradakshina path? Question याद रहेगा, fact नहीं याद रहेगा. निरंधर, सर्वोत्भद्र. ये जो information NCERT में लिखी है, even that is wrong, right? So there are certain things which have been mentioned wrong by NCERT. So accordingly, you have to take a wise decision. You can't really predict what UPSC will give the answer as, right? Now next aspect in Harappan civilization which you have to prepare, keeping in mind the present trend, is, burial system, which your content is also covering, right? We've already done the framework. I'm just telling you that most importantly, from current affairs point of view, what you can focus, right? As I told you, Dholavira can be asked by UPSC again, right? Now coming to burial practices, so your content mentions clearly that there are different types of burial practices. Most common burial system was placing the body with head towards north in a simple pit or brick chamber, right? So usually the body was placed as head towards the north, right? So you must be knowing that there were different burial practices since Stone Age, like burying objects with the dead, burying even animals or domesticated animals along with the dead, right? In some places the head was east to west, the body was placed east to west, in some north to south, right? So such fineness is not required, but at least you have an idea that there were different methods of burying the dead, right? Now, among the Indus Valley site, Lothal provides the evidence of burial of pairs of male and female together. So this unique feature of any site being highlighted is what you will remember, right? Sorry? Importance. So basically when we get any site which is mentioning that this was the pattern of a burial system, we understand many things about society. First, we get to know that, okay, So let's say if burial of pairs of male and female are, you know, buried together, so probably they believe in life after death or their union after they die, right? Similarly, if certain objects like pits and grains are also buried, so it is again assumed that they believe in life after death and certain, you know, grains which can be offered to them, or through this they can be full or they will not be hungry, right? So such pieces of information is what we get. Similarly, till date we do Pitra Puja, right? Why is that so? We offer certain grains, we offer certain things, objects which they like. That is again to justify that there is still a belief that there is life after death, right? Animals, so again that suggests that you know, and that they have a bond with animals, or they will also. Yes, you can. Maybe. Then Kilari excavations. First of all, you need to know that Kilari excavations, or Kilari is a place in which state, right? So it is in Tamil Nadu, and basically it gives us the information that it was an urban civilization which existed in Tamil Nadu, right? And this excavation also, you know, let us know that there was a Sangam age, and it is a Sangam site, right? Again, with respect to Sangam age, I would mention that there is still not a consensus made on from which period till which period Sangam age lasts. But the common notion is that it starts from 3rd century BC till 3rd century AD. But still studies are ongoing. So you will find some or the other month, you know, excavations made, and they suggesting that there is a change of date of Sangam age. But if you ask, most of the historians believe that it starts from 3rd century BC to 3rd century AD, right? Then, yes, coming to such information, Buddhist monastery complex. So, if any, again, excavations are done on Buddhist, in any Buddhist monastery, that place is not that important, because as I told you, excavations are ongoing in different places for different reasons, so you really cannot remember each and everything. What you can do is that if you get, let's say, you know, information like this, that an excavation found at Buddhist monastery, the Buddha is in Bhumi Sparsh Mudra. So you must be knowing about, or you should know about the Bhumi Sparsh Mudra, because again these mudras have been asked by UPSC, right? So this is how you are going to, you know, fine tune your understanding with respect to what to do and what not to do from the document, right? So this is where you will focus more rather than which site or which monastery was excavated, right? So again, as I told you, in Buddhism and Jainism class, I will be giving you specifically information about everything which has come till date in UPSC and which might come in UPSC. So there only we will cover the mudras, right? Khajuraho group of monuments, yes. So Khajuraho group of monuments, is it a Nagara style of temple architecture, or a Vesara, or a Dravida? Nagara, right? Okay. So whenever, as I told you, you are doing temple, first of all you should know that which style is it. So it is a Nagara style of temple architecture, right? Then because it is a Nagara style, most of the Nagara style temples are in the style of Panchayatan, right? So again, if this information is not specifically mentioned, but it comes as part of your statement, then also you have to be logical about it and mark it as correct, right? Third thing is that in which state is it? It's in Madhya Pradesh. Is it a World Heritage Site? Yes, it is a World Heritage Site. To which religious faith it is dedicated? Both Hindu and Jain temples are there in the Khajuraho monument complex. Again, this is a crucial fact which you should not forget, right? Because there can be a question on these lines. This is a type of question where if you have not highlighted or tried to memorize this fact, you might get confused, right? So the monuments of Khajuraho reflect which of the following religious faiths? It's Jainism and Hinduism and not Buddhism, right? So that's why I'm telling you specifically that this piece of information you don't have to forget. So there is a question. What are fractional burials in IVC, Indus Valley Civilization? Okay. So basically, so there are certain pit burials. There are chambered burials. There are fractional burials. Sometimes it's written as pit urn burials, right? So pit burials are basically very traditional or the earliest form of burials where the objects like urns, vagera, right, etc. were placed along with the dead. So pits are basically small stones which were, kept above the grave site, right? Chambered burials are those burials which were basically, having certain chambers, certain holes, a house like a structure. So that was a chambered burial. Fractional burials again were layered burials. So certain layers were there on the grave site, right? So this is what you mean by fractional burial. Then obviously everyone knows that it was built during the Chandela dynasty time period, right? Now there are other important facts or features of Khajuraho temple which you should know. One is that their interior and exterior walls were decorated extensively, right? The main material and the themes. So themes were mainly erotic and they were drawn from Vatsyayan's Kama Sutra. Then the chief material was sandstone. Again, they can give you any other, stone material like marble, etc. So you have to be very conscious about it. Then the temples had 3 chambers, Garbhagriha, Mandap and Ardh Mandap. Again, what you need to know is that because it is a Nagara style and you know the basic features of Nagara temple, this fact may not be that difficult for you to remember, right? Now this is an important thing, that most of the temples at Khajuraho were generally north or east facing, right? So this is a point which you can, remember. Then there are important temples at Khajuraho temple complex. One is Kandarya Mahadev temple and the Lakshman temple at Khajuraho. They are the most prominent temples at Khajuraho temple complex, right? Then when you are doing these 2 important temples, again a specific question can be asked because they are in itself very important, right? So Kandarya Mahadev temple is the largest of all the temples at Khajuraho. This is again an important fact, right? Then again, if you are to just, do the theme of the temple, this is basically, this fact is also very important, that Kandarya temple carries, or it has, 900 images, which is a huge number. That means you can just picturize and visualize that Khajuraho temples in general were very, decorated, or, there were themes on the walls of the temple. And Kandarya Mahadev, because it is the largest of all Khajuraho temples, and it has, more than or nearly 900 images, right? Then the images were decorated with figures of deities and musicians. Some important themes are goddess Ganga and goddess Yamuna and symbol of Lord Shiva. Then there were figures of Apsara, right? Now, how this has to be remembered and why this is important, and I'm, telling it to you. There was a question asked by UPSC on the themes of stupa or, sculpture. Because this is a very important temple, you need to know the basic, themes or features of this temple, right? So basically, what you have to basically learn in this is that it has many images of gods and river goddesses specifically. It has Shiva symbol and it has Apsaras, or themes like that. That's it. Do you remember the question which I'm talking about? Has anyone seen 2014-15 paper of UPSC? See, if you are giving UPSC this year, please at least see last 10 years papers. It's very important to clear the exam. Then comes Sapkoteshwar temple. Basically it is in Goa, right? So the main deity is the royal dynasty of Goa Kadamba. It's dedicated to Lord Shiva. Shivaji Maharaj also renovated it. Now how far UPSC is going to ask such temples, no one knows. Till date UPSC has only asked very significant temples like major sun temples of India, or let's say those temples or monuments which are in UNESCO's World Heritage Site, right? So if you are able to revise and it stays, fine, otherwise you can skip it till the time it is not too much in news. So why I'm emphasizing this, there are certain monuments or places which attract lot more controversy. For example, you can't miss out on Samet Shikharji. Similarly, you can't miss out on Shatranjay Hill. You can't miss out on Khajuraho. So if you were to again give priority, you have to give priority to those topics rather than temples which invariably comes in news, right? Then comes Jattar Deul temple, Deul, Odisha, right? So by the name of it only, you have to again link it with Kalinga style of temple architecture, Odisha style of temple architecture. But this Jattar Deul temple is found in West Bengal, right? So that means Deuls are also found, or Deul type of temple is also found in West Bengal, right? It is the tallest standing temple in Sundarbans. Now why this temple needs to be done? Because Sundarban is a important biodiversity site, right? So if there is a temple in Sundarban, which is the tallest standing temple, you need to know it, right? So it's dedicated to Shiva temple, Shiva, and it's located in Moni river. Again, it is a Nagara order of Odisha style temple, right? And why this is again important, it has been labeled by Archaeological Survey of India as the monument of national importance, right? Then everyone knows about G20. So G20 tourism ministerial meeting happened in Rann of Kutch. That's about it. Then comes paintings and other art forms, Thullal or Ottan Thullal. So what is it? It is a theatre. Yeah. Huh. So, see, what happens is, it's not as if Nagara cannot be found in Odisha or West Bengal, right? So it is an Odishan style of temple found in West Bengal. Yes. Paintings and other art forms, Ottan Thullal or Thullal, it is a recite dance art form of Kerala. Basically, it is a kind of a theatrical tradition, right? So it's a dance form which is like Kathakali and Kodiyattam. Now, again, there are types of questions asked by UPSC. I'll just tell you how the questions come again. So one dance can be given and state can be asked. One theatre tradition can be given and state will be asked, right? So sometimes UPSC can also give you regional forms of art which are not classical forms of art. So there are classical dances and classical music, then there are folk dances and folk music, then there are folk theatre traditions, and then there are theatre traditions which are inscribed in the UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage list, right? So again, if you were to give priority to theatrical forms or dance forms which are, which have a characteristic of folk or tribal nature in them, those art forms you have to do from UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage List. Just to give you an example, Satriya. So Satriya is a classical dance, as well as it is in the UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage List, right? Similarly, there can be folk traditions, like for example, if I'm not wrong, shadow puppetry is there in the nominated list of UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage List. So if you were to give priority to puppetry, you have to give priority to shadow puppetry. So there are different kinds of puppetry: rod puppetry, string puppetry, shadow puppetry. So shadow puppetry is in the nominated list of UNESCO's Cultural Intangible Heritage List, right? So like this, these art forms you have to prepare. Any question in this? Or any, approach or guidance you want to know in this? Okay, Mohiniyattam. It is one of the classical dances, very, very, very important topic from culture as well as UPSC point of view, right? I'll just first show you how questions have been asked by UPSC. This was a question asked in 2012. Now just see the depth of the question. Again, question stem is, how do you distinguish between Kuchipudi and Bharatanatyam dances? First statement, dancers occasionally speaking dialogues is not found in Kuchipudi dance, but is found in Kuchipudi dance but not in Bharatanatyam. Second, dancing on the brass plate by keeping the feet on its edges is a feature of Bharatanatyam, but Kuchipudi dance does not have such a form of movement. Now, if someone has just seen the visuals of these dances, then also they can solve this question. But if you are going to treat every topic as factual and try to remember everything, it won't stay with you for a long time, right? So what you have to do is, again for this, I will give you a framework according to which you have to prepare this topic. So first of all, if you're doing classical dances, you need to know, what kinds of elements does it have. So there are 3 elements in classical dance. One is Natya, Nritya, and Nrita. What is Natya? What is Nritya? Dance and drama both. And what is Nrita? Pure dance. Right? Second thing which you have to see in classical dances, what is Tandav element in classical dance? What is Lasya element? Feminine and soft element, right? Third thing which you have to note down in any classical dance is next thing is whether it has any temple tradition, or was it performed in temples, or is it inspired from folk tradition. This distinguishing feature also, if you get in any classical dance, you have to note it down, right? Then third aspect is importance to makeup or headgear, etc. Right? So when you look for importance given to makeup or headgear, in such aspects, you know, different characters and their portrayal also becomes important, right? Next aspect which you have to see in classical dances, any literary or textual evidence of that classical dance being mentioned in any literary text or any ancient text, right? So what UPSC had asked in that question was that could you visualize in those two dances, you know, dialogues being said, or, you know, a brass plate, which are all, if you just see the picture also of different classical dances, you can understand. But nonetheless, what I have done is, I have done your task a bit easier. I am not only giving you content on Mohiniyattam, but all the classical dances, right? In the framework which I have just discussed. Then there are other things which can be asked by UPSC and which you should know. So you all know that there are 5 metaphysical elements of nature: fire, earth, air, water, ether, right? So of the classical dances, so how many classical dances are there? So Ministry of Culture identifies 9 classical dances. It also includes Chhau. Whereas Sangeet Natak Academy identifies 8 classical dances, right? So among the classical dances, Odissi represents the element of water, Kuchipudi represents the element of earth, Mohiniyattam represents the element of air, Bharatnatyam represents element of fire, and Kathakali represents the element of sky. Apart from this, what all are the classical dances? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 is Manipuri, right? So just remember, Sangeet Natak Academy identifies 8 classical dances, whereas Ministry of Culture identifies 9. It includes Chhau as well, right? What are the historical or textual or literary evidences? So basically, when you talk about the history of dance in India, it starts from Dancing Girl, which you found in Mohenjo-daro excavation, right? The earliest treatise or text was Natya Shastra by Bharat Muni, right? It's also known as Veda. It's also a source for music in India, right? These we have already discussed, Natya, Nritya, Nrita. Then there are 2 styles, Tandav and Lasya. Mohiniyattam, just see the images and, you know, if there are certain features I would ask you, you will be able to clearly identify it. What if the statement gives you that Mohiniyattam dancers rely more on expressions? It will be correct, right? Are you seeing in this visual any group dance? No. Sometimes these facts are also asked, that is it a group dance, or is it only a male dance, is it only a female dance, right? So when you're doing Mohiniyattam, you should know that which state it belongs to. Kerala. It is a classical solo dance, and the visuals also which you saw was of a single female dancer, right? There is more reliance on facial expression, right? There is a textual reference in the text Vyavahar Mala, written in 1709 by Mazhamagalam Narayanan, right? So Vyavahar Mala is what you will highlight. It has its origin in the temples of Kerala, so that means it is having a temple tradition to it, right? Then that, you know, the dance performed at temples or was known as Dasyattam. The existence of Dasyatam is also, written in one of the epics called Silpadikaram, right? So that means the roots or the origin of Mohiniyattam you can also find in Silpadikaram, right? So like this, you are going to, use the information. Similarly, there are other dance forms which originated from Mohiniyattam. One is Nangyar Kuttu, right? So again, you have to make use of such information, right? Similarly, so it lays emphasis on acting and expressions more. Bharatnatyam, if you can see, there are more than one dance, right? Again, the movements are hand as well as expression, right? So there are certain characteristics which you through picture only can, learn, and then there are certain things which you have to remember. So again, the note is made with respect to the framework given. Textual references, Natya Shastra will remain. Then Abhinay Darpan by Nandikeshwar is also highlighting the origin of Bharatnatyam dance. Again, it has temple origin like Mohiniyattam. Then charis and karnas of the dance are represented in the sculpture, or different postures used in this dance was again, depicted in the walls of the temple. Then there are different, movements or different steps of Bharatnatyam starting from Aliriyappu to Jati Swaram. This you can get in your CCRT website as well, right? Then Kuchipudi, which was asked by UPSC, a brass plate. Yes, this is a brass plate. The question was on distinguishing feature of Bharatnatyam with Kuchipudi. So in Bharatnatyam, you only saw facial expressions and hand movement. Here you see brass plate as well, a male dancer also, right? So that's how you're going to make use of the notes given. Okay, you need not make notes of classical dances anymore. So in Kathakali, you have headgears, more emphasis to makeup. Then these different kinds of makeup, for example, green face, red face, white face also depicts different characters, played in this classical dance. Kathak, feet movement more. Satriya dance, so there was a question asked by UPSC on Satriya dance, on the type of musical instruments used in that dance, right? So you could only see drums or cymbals. So that's about it. So in Manipuri dance, you have martial element, you have Ras Leela, Krishna and Radha theme. You have, Pung and Cholom musical instrument. Again, this depicts that there is, women also participating in the dance, males also participating in the dance, right? Then comes your Etikopakka toy. Now, why was this in news? Because the craftsman who was involved in the Etikopakka wooden toy craft has been recently conferred with Padma Award, right? Padma Shri. So Etikopakka toys are in Andhra Pradesh. They are GI tagged toys. So that means you can expect a question on GI tagged toys, right? So one is this. The other one is Channapatna toys in Karnataka. Kinhal toys again in Karnataka. Nirmal toys Telangana. Leather toys of Indore. These are the only toy categories which are having GI tag, right? So this piece of information is also important. Then comes your personality, Dayanand Saraswati. Socio-religious movement. We've already covered one personality in the previous class. This updated class also has one of the personalities. That means you have to revise your socio-religious movement, right? Dayanand Saraswati, everyone by now know on tips what are the movements he's associated. Which movement he's associated with? Arya Samaj movement, right? What was his slogan? Going back to Vedas, right? What was his views on caste? He believed in the caste system. Any conversion movement he's associated with? Shuddhi movement. Both. But Varna is extension of, or you can say caste is an extension of Varna. So you can't say that if someone believed in caste, he did not believe in Varna. Right. Is pe we can discuss. So there is a, two layers to socio-religious movement. One are the reformers and the other one is revivalists, right? So revivalists are who? Who wanted to go back to the original texts or preachings or traditions. Whereas reformists are those who want to modernize the existing culture, right? When you talk about movements like Shuddhi movement, when you talk about going back to Vedas or Arya Samaj, then they are categorized as revivalists. But this is an understanding which is told you to explain certain things. Till date, UPSC has never asked like this that it was a revivalist movement or it was a reformist movement, right? It's just that in certain statements, the feature could be asked. So from there you have to identify. But yes, I agree, many of the test questions which you've been solving must be asking you this fact that whether it is a revivalist movement or whether it is a reformist movement, right? So yes, there are certain movements which can be strictly classified as revivalist or reformist, but there can be a thin line between the two in some of the movement. So don't be very strict about it, that this is revivalist and this is reformist. Just understand the main purpose of the movement, right? So for prelims, Satyarth Prakash is very important. Arya Samaj, in some, I think books also, you might get that Arya Samaj, year must be written as 75, in some certain books 76. So again, you don't have to become so strict about it. 75 or 76, either will do, right? So he's also accredited with opening up of DAV schools, right? कहाँ दिया हुआ है? कौन से सोर्सेस में? So first we'll do what is given in the content and then I'll come to it, right? I'll come to it. Wait. So one is Shuddhi movement. Shuddhi movement aimed to converted Hindus. So that means he wanted to glorify, not caste, the Hindu faith, right? Second aspect of his Arya Samaj movement particularly is that he wanted to unite people together, right? So one is conversion from non-Hindus to Hindus, or Hindus who have been converted as Muslims to back to Hindus, and the second was Arya Samaj. Now who are considered as Aryans? The superior ones, right? The firstborn, right? And Aryans are also associated with color, right? So the objective of Arya Samaj particularly was to unite the Hindus on the basis of which faith or principle? Vedic teachings, right? So in Vedic teachings or Rig Ved, what is emphasized? Right. Similarly, when you understand this, the next step which he put forward through his Arya Samaj teachings was that there should not be any idol worship, pilgrimage, and bathing in holy rivers. But again, if you have studied history, in Vedic times, you have yagnas, you have worshipping of tribal gods, right? So one aspect of strictly understanding the meaning is through Rig Vedas or Vedic, society, and the other one is Arya Samaj, right? So there are different interpretations or use of Aryans or Vedic understanding according to different social reformers. So you have to be very particular about it, right? Then what else? When he has condemned ritualistic practices, so the next step, what he will be doing? Condemning untouchability also, right? So that's how you are going to remember. Just remember that, he condemned idol worship or, bathing in holy rivers, which you associated with, or which you generally associate with Vedic culture. Exactly. It's not as if he completely dissociated himself with caste system, but he did not promote the negative elements within the caste system in the society, right? Second thing which you have to remember is the social reforms and education steps he took. Again, the question is that whether you will classify him as a reformer or a revivalist will depend on the question or the objective or the theme on which the question is based, right? It's not reformers only conducted reforms and revivalists did not conduct any kind of reform, right? That's why I was saying that this line of reformist and revivalist is very blurred. It depends on the kind of question being asked by UPSC. UPSC has never asked that who are revivalists and who are reformists, right? It's for basic history textbooks which has classified, for example, Spectrum or Krishna Reddy book if you have come across, right? You can say that he took the help of Vedas to reform the society. Yes, yes, right. There is another Paropkarini Sabha which was established under Arya Samaj. Again, it is related with Dayanand Saraswati. That's what you will remember for prelims, right? Then comes your other personalities. Among the personalities given, again, Tulsidas is the most important one from Bhakti Sufi movement. His time period becomes important. His poems were written in Awadhi dialect. This is very important, right? And he lived at the time of Emperor Akbar. This point is also very important. Apart from this, I think it is sufficient for you to do Tulsidas, right? Then comes your Rani Velu Nachiyar, Sant Sevalal Maharaj. Again, I feel that if you are to give priority from this page, you give priority to Tulsidas being a Bhakti saint. Because in the last 10 years, they have not asked questions on personalities of regional importance, right? There is a chapter on Bhakti and Sufi traditions and themes in Indian history, part 2. So there, I think of Sufi saints, there is a table given, right? But otherwise, if you're asking, there is no separate content in any of the book available giving you the time period. What I can do is that, after your Buddhism and Jainism class is over, I can give you the time periods of important Bhakti and Sufi saints as a handout, right? Because there has been a question on Annamacharya, there has been a question on these lines in the previous year papers as well, right? That part I can do as a handout after Buddhism. Yeah, I will be taking class. This you can just go through. Monuments of national importance. Important from the point of view of governance and act related provisions which UPSC usually gives in prelims. Right, so this act is very much in news, so this might be asked by UPSC. So what is monument of national importance? Monuments of national importance are those monuments which are considered important under the AMASR Act, right? There are constitutional provisions also with respect to monuments. One is Article 49, which says that it is the duty of the state to protect, or it directs the state to protect the monuments and places and objects of national importance across the country, right? Then the act which I was talking about was Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act, AMASR Act 1958. It classifies monuments into two categories. One is deemed and the other one is declared, right? I'm again repeating, there are two kinds of monuments. One is deemed and the other one is declared. So under this AMASR Act, the declared monuments are those monuments which are declared by the central government through the notification, right? And then there are deemed monuments which are basically declared as ancient and historical monuments under this Act, Ancient and Historical Monument and Archaeological Site and Remains Act 1951, right? So one is which the Act is declaring, and the declared monuments are those which the central government is declaring as declared monument, right? So this differentiation you can make. Then there is this National Monuments Authority, which was set up in 2010 under the AMSR Act 2010 again, right? So what is this National Monuments Authority all about? So basically, first, it is a statutory body. Why it is a statutory body? Because it is created under the 2000 AMSR Act. Then what are the functions of this authority? Basically, it makes recommendations to the central government for grading and classifying the protected monuments. This is the most important, function and power which it does, right? It also is an authority which considers or reconsiders the development work or projects which can be undertaken in the monuments, right? So this is also one of the important roles which National Monument Authority undertakes, right? So what it further does is when it, takes decisions with respect to the works which can be done or the development works which can be done, it has prescribed certain prohibitions on the areas up to which extent or how much kilometer these development works can be undertaken. So in your content also it's given that the minimum prohibited area for the centrally protected monuments is 100 meters, right? That means if a monument within the vicinity of 100 meters, no work can be done. It is beyond 100 meters that a development work can be undertaken, right? Secondly, there is an FAQ which was given in the website. I thought it is important. Any new construction, including government or public work, can be permitted in the prohibited area? No. In the prohibited area, there can be no new construction which can be done, right? Then what is the status of constructions that already exist within the prohibited area prior to this 2010 amendment? Repairs can be done, but no new construction can be done, right? So basically what you have to remember is that the National Monument Authority was set up in 2010 according to a 2010 Act, so it is a statutory body. Its two main important functions is that it gives directions or suggestions to the central government on protecting the monuments, as well as which activity can be permissible or any repair or any new development work which can be carried down, right? Then roots of democratic values in India. So in the recent Mann Ki Baat of our Honorable Prime Minister, he had discussed about certain democratic values which we have taken from our ancient past, right? So these, democratic institutions which exist in from ancient times have been mentioned by the Prime Minister. That is why they become important. First of all, this Uttaramerur inscription is important. First, how you have to do, first of all, the time period. So it belongs to Chola times. Secondly, Uttaramerur inscription gives you an instance of, election system. and every village was categorized as Kudumbu. Kudumbu is associated with modern day wards in election system, right? So there was a mechanism of conducting local level elections which we get through the inscriptions of Uttiramerur, right? Just remember, this information will not be asked directly, but you can get a question on Uttiramerur inscription being, dedicated to which dynasty, right? So during the reign of Parantak Chola, these, Uttiramerur inscriptions have been dated, right? Similarly, Anubha Mantap of Lord Basaveshwara. Basaveshwara is a Bhakti saint. In which region? Karnataka. His poems were called as Vachans, right? So he is credited with creating a Anubha Mantap. What is Anubha Mantap? It was considered as one of the parliament in the history of mankind, an assembly hall or a parliament, right? So again, our Honorable Prime Minister mentioned Anubha Mantap of Lord Basaveshwara. So otherwise also you can get a question on Lord Basaveshwara from the Bhakti movement, right? Then Kakatiya tradition. So he mentioned that there were elected committees in Kakatiya dynasty as well. And Bhakti movement, had within its fold principles of equality, democracy, which was highlighted in Man Ki Baat, right? Now coming to Kakatiya tradition, there have been questions on Kakatiya. 3-4 years back, there was a question on the chief port of Kakatiya kingdom. So there were ports given and Motupalli was considered as a chief port. Now that question was also controversial because there was nothing mentioned but that which port is considered as a chief port of Kakatiya dynasty. Now this chief port definition or description was aligned with Marco Polo's description of Kakatiya port of Motupalli. So Marco Polo described chief port to be Motupalli. That's why we felt that answer was also given Motupalli, right? So chief port is a port where major port activities are taken or it's considered as a major port. So at that point of time, yes, Motupalli was the major port of the Kakatiya dynasty. There are multiple ports. If any traveler has described any port to be large or major where many activities were done, so that's how UPSC had give the answer, so we'll believe it that way, right? Otherwise, you can't define during ancient times or medieval times which can be the chief port, right? Okay, so Kakatiya tradition, yes, it is a very important dynasty of medieval times. Apart from what is given in your infographic, have we done this in our previous classes? We have not covered Kakatiya kingdom? Okay. So the first, but you do know the framework of how the dynasties are to be done. So first of all, you should know that Kakatiya kingdom or this region of Andhra Pradesh or Telangana was ruled by which all dynasties, right? Specifically Telangana, a question can be asked to you in this manner. The present region of Telangana was ruled by which of the following dynasties? Satavahanas, Rashtrakutas, Chera, Kakatiyas. So the Telangana region was ruled by all these dynasties. So Satavahanas also ruled the Andhra Pradesh and Telangana region. Rashtrakutas also ruled this region. Cheras also ruled and Kakatiyas also ruled. Right? Then comes your main important rulers of Kakatiya dynasty. First of all, when you're doing this, the political history of any dynasty, the founder and the last ruler is important. Other rulers you are understanding or learning in terms of their cultural contribution. So the first ruler of the Kakatiya was Rudradev or Pratap Rudra I, who became the first independent ruler of the Kakatiya dynasty, right? So Rudradev or Pratap Rudra I is important because he started with the construction of 1000-pillar temple as well. Then important ruler of Kakatiya is Ganpati Dev. Now Ganpati Dev is credited with the construction of Orugallu, right? And shifting the capital from Hanuman Konda. Another important ruler is Prataprudra II. So Prataprudra II's reign Alauddin Khilji plundered Devgiri. So there were many invasions by Khiljis in Kakatiya dynasty specifically, right? So you have to remember that there were Khilji invasions. Next important Kakatiya ruler is your Prataprudra II. Why? Because during his reign, there were many invasions that had happened. So his reign is considered to be the last one where the Khilji invasions had taken to its fore, and finally the Kakatiya rule ended. So Prataprudra II is considered to be the last important ruler, right? Just remember that under Prataprudra II reign, there were many invasions by Khiljis, right? Then comes this type of question in Kakatiya dynasty. One is, it's giving you information that they were feudatories of Western Chalukyas, 1,000-pillar temple, right? There was emphasis on water construction tanks. The empire had also witnessed an Islamic attack. So the passage is talking about the Kakatiyas, right? Talking about the socio-economic history, Motupalli was the chief trading port. Marco Polo had visited Kakatiya dynasty. Who was Marco Polo? He was a Venetian traveler. So country and profession is also important when you're doing travelers. Then Kohinoor diamond was mined during Kakatiya rule in Golconda mines, right? There was emphasis on, irrigation. There was emphasis on water tanks construction in the Kakatiya dynasty, right? Then there were lakes also which were, constructed. Taxes, there were these kind of taxes which were employed in the Kakatiya administration: land tax, industrial and property tax, profession tax, commercial tax, and then there were miscellaneous tax. Now how to infer information from such kind of facts? Now whatever statement given to you about Kakatiya dynasty is that there was emphasis on different professional classes in the Kakatiya kingdom, right? Now, if you have gone through or just done this, that there were many profession tax, that means that statement will also or can be considered as correct. If there were emphasis given on different professions in Kakatiya dynasty, that's why profession tax have been imposed, no? So there are certain information which you have to infer and link. That's why these categories should be there in your mind, that okay, Kakatiya administration had such wide variety of taxes which can be linked with modern times, right? So you have land taxes, you have property tax, industrial tax. That means there could be many industries at that point of time. There are profession tax, might be different professional classes or professions which were there. Commercial tax, right? So it had a very wide range of taxation system. Then there are certain terms which are associated with Kakatiya dynasty. You must be knowing that in medieval Indian history, terminology based questions are asked, right? And now what terminology they will ask, we don't know, but at least you can just revise certain things. For example, Achukattu or Avakattu, they were settled cultivable land where the government was entitled to levy tax both in cash and kind, right? Pannu again is a kind of tax. So these terms are important. Traveler, as I told you, is important. Rudram Devi is also one of the important rulers of Kakatiya dynasty. Architecture, what kind of architecture do you see in Kakatiya? Very important temple is in use which belongs to Kakatiya dynasty. Ramappa temple, right? So that means Ramappa temple, Kakatiya dynasty, again one of the reasons why Kakatiya can be asked. Okay? So you have content with respect to Kakatiya dynasty. Again, poetry and literature of Kakatiyas. There were more emphasis given on Sanskrit works in Kakatiya dynasty. There were certain poets or authors like Vidyanath, he was the court poet of Prataprudra II. Nitrant Vali was a work on dance by Jaya Senapati, right? So there are certain works which are important which you can go through. There were Telugu works also. So it's not as if only Telugu works were there. More emphasis, as I told you, was given to Sanskrit works primarily. Among the regional work or regional literature, Tikkan Somyaji is very important in Kakatiya dynasty. He is also known as the Kavi Brahma, or the creator among the poets, right? So Tikkan Somyaji personality is very important. He had also authored Nirvachanottar Ramayan, right? Andhra Mahabharat. Then there is also Bhaskar Ramayan, which is a work of different authors. Just remember, Tikkan Somyaji's works are important. If you're again to give priority from this page, you have to give it to Tikkan Somyaji, right? Then there was Shaiv literature also. So Sanskrit literature, Telugu literature, and Shaiv literature also is found in Kakatiya dynasty, right? Education. Sanskrit education was given the first place in Kakatiya dynasty, right? There were different mathas or colleges existing in Kakatiya dynasty. There is a title called Ghata Sasins. This title or term is important. Who are Ghata Sasins? They are those who gave donations to the temples or the priests or the educational centers. So this Ghata Sasan is important. They are also affiliated or linked with teachers in some Ghat Kasthan or college of higher education. So there are two meanings which have been given in the history textbooks. One is Ghata Sasans have appeared as donis, or the ones who gave donations, and there are also references of they being teachers of higher education or colleges, right? Then comes your harvest festivals of India. This, so you have to remember through infographic, nothing can be done here. Just remember that this Makar Sankranti or harvest festivals are mainly dedicated to which god? Lord Surya, right? Yes, communities are important in the festivals, specifically Gan Nagai festival. So it is celebrated by Zeliangrong community of Manipur. Now, why this festival I have picked up specifically, that you have to remember, because it is the biggest post-harvest and cultural festival of Manipur, right? So this you have to do, and the tribes or the communities which are associated with festival, right? Parshuram Kund festival held in Arunachal Pradesh is also very important, because it is an annual religious fair in Arunachal Pradesh where the pilgrims specifically come to take a dip at Parshuram Kund. I told you again that there are pilgrimage sites questions being asked by UPSC, so you have to focus on Parshuram Kund, which is also considered as one of the festival, and Gan Nagai festival, right? Siang Yuning festival is also very important. It is very much covered in the newspapers last year. So it is a festival of Adi community in Arunachal Pradesh. Again, this is a New Year festival, right? You can just tick mark those which I am telling you to pay more importance to. Then comes your Padma Awards. So Padma Awards are the highest civilian honors of India. They were instituted in 1954. The most important thing which I would like to bring to your notice is the Padma Award Committee, which is constituted by Prime Minister every year, right? Now this committee is headed by not Prime Minister but Cabinet Secretary, right? This fact is not given in your content. So basically, Padma Award Committee is constituted by the Prime Minister, but it is headed by the Cabinet Secretary, and it also includes Home Secretary, Secretary to the President, and 6 eminent persons as member, right? There was also a controversy with respect to one of the nominations. So there is a description given that self-nomination is also possible, right? So self-nomination can also be made for Padma Award. There was an issue on getting the consent of the nominee. So if someone is to be given an award, Padma Award, is his consent taken before nominating him or giving him award? There is no provision of taking a written or formal consent from the nominee, but what is actually done is that when the awards are announced, he is given a call, right? So if the recipient receives a call from the Ministry of Home Affairs, if he expresses his desire to be excluded from the award nomination, he can do so. But there is no formal or written consent taken from the awardee or nominee beforehand, right? So this is also another point which you can keep in mind with respect to Padma Award. One is, I told you, it's the Padma Award committee is headed by Cabinet Secretary and not Prime Minister. It's constituted by the Prime Minister, right? Then Paramveer Chakra Award. These are questions mostly asked in CDS and CAPF, not in UPSC prelims, but if you were to again give priority, you can give priority to Padma Awards rather than Paramveer Chakra Award. But in Paramveer Chakra Award, this fact can be asked, that Paramveer Parakram Divas is celebrated on the occasion of the birth anniversary of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. They can give you any other personality, they can give you any other reason why this Parakram Divas is celebrated, right? So associate Paramveer Chakra or Parakram Divas with the birth anniversary of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, right? So this is important, which you can remember in this. It has been asked by UPSC, that's what you're saying. हाँ, ये तो war time पे दिया है, highest military decoration है ये, during war time, yes. I have to check. I told you, these are the questions which are most probable, or they might have been asked in CDS and CAPF, not in CSP, right? See, like this, though, it's not mentioned anywhere, but for specifically Padma Award, this is mentioned. That the consent, there is no need to take, consent before awarding. There is no formal consent being taken, right? So this has been highlighted in Padma Award. Otherwise, I don't think so in other awards, this can be an issue, right? How many of you also give CAPF papers? Other important news, Ganjam Kevda. It is again a GI tag commodity. What is Kevda? What is Kevda? Is it a food? Is it a flower? It's a flower. Okay. Sometimes this can be asked by UPSC. That Kevda is a stem, plant, food, like this. So Kevda is a flower of a screw pine plant and is widely used in aromatic food industry. It again is important because it is a GI tag, right? Ganjam, you associated with Odisha, right? This Hakku Patra is important from this page. Why? What is this Hakku? This is a kind of a deed or a land right being given to the members of Banjara tribe. Why I focused on this? Reason being, Banjara has been asked in medieval Indian history. I'll just show you the question. This was a UPSC question. Banjaras during the medieval period of Indian history were generally agriculturists, warriors, weavers, traders. So Banjaras were traders. So this Hakku Patra is given to the members of Banjara tribe in Karnataka. So Hakku Patra is a kind of a document which legitimizes one's right on land, right? Then Indian toys. I told you the toys which have received GI tag, right? So first you will give priority to those toys and then as much as you can remember from the infographic. So that's about it. Not too many pages in today's class. The only major portion which is left is Buddhism and Jainism. Apart from this, if there is any question, you can ask me. I have to give you lot many handouts in that topic, which needs to be prepared. I think most probably next week. Because this class is not meant for everyone. Everyone must have covered Buddhism and Jainism otherwise. Right? It has nothing to do more with current affairs than I teaching you about Buddhism and Jainism. So it is voluntary on your part. If you want to revise Buddhism, Jainism, you can come to the class. If you think that you already know and you can understand from the handouts, it's up to you. Right? What I can give you the framework within which you can do Buddhism and Jainism. Right? If someone is confused about the sources, I'll tell you the sources from which you can revise apart from what has been given to you. Do you want to know the sources for history? I'll just write it for you. See, if someone is confused with respect to the information given in the class, how to use it along with your class notes and books. So what you can do is, because this is precisely from current affairs point of view, what all topics you have to focus. So apart from PT 365 handouts I mean the slides which I have shared with you. You can revise your NCRTs. Now you'll ask me which all NCRTs. One is old NCRT by R.S. Sharma. Then again old NCRT of Satish Chandra, Medieval India. Now in this book, Medieval India book, you can primarily focus on Mughals. You can focus on yes, Vijayanagar dynasty. What do you think, papers are freshly made? The questions have been freshly made, or there is a collection of questions which can go through 2-3 years? Let's wait and watch. Till date though, they have been asking, I think if I'm not wrong, I have recently seen a question asked by UPSC and CAPF or CDS on Mughals. So you really cannot say. Mughals. Right? You have to focus more on Bhakti movement. Then you have to focus more on socio-religious aspects of different dynasties of medieval India, specifically Mughals, specifically Vijayanagar, Bhakti, Sufi. Even if you want to cover, let's say, Delhi Sultanate, you can skip political history, but you have to do socio-religious aspects. So in the old NCRT, you have specific chapters on socio-religious aspects of these dynasties, so those portions you have to focus. This I'm talking about ancient, medieval and culture. So in culture, you have to do your introduction to Indian art, part 1, right? And for paintings, part 2. Now if you are doing these things for ancient, medieval and culture along with PT 365, that's sufficient, right? What if there are, some of the students who don't think so that they will be able to revise all these books along with PT 365 handouts? So for them, If you feel that you will not be able to revise, you can do the test series sectional questions on ancient, medieval and culture. Themes in Indian history, agar aap ye kar rahe ho, then there is no need. Because if you're doing this, those aspects are covered there. तो हो गया था वो question. Right, question is totally different. So that is what also UPSC does. Question is made from the newspaper article. Discussion hogi na? Day after tomorrow? So I will be taking discussion. I will tell you how to prepare current affairs. So if someone does not want to do this much, they can do the sectional tests. You can still practice as many tests on ancient medieval culture and make your explanation as content, right? If this is too much for you. Any other thing which you want to ask? Because now on, I think from now classes will be too short, whether it's updated part 2 or Buddhism and Jainism, there won't be too much of content. So all the best.